They killed, give me Isaiah 14 and 21. They did the same thing to my people. So that you said that they put millions of my actions. Yes, you said. Should a murderer go to jail for murdering? Absolutely. Should a thief go to jail when he steals? Absolutely. Should a robber pay back the money he robbed? Absolutely. So why shouldn't the white man pay for what he did? That's right. That's right. One day you'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog.
I'm in a hell of a hole, was never expected to grow. Just obstacle set in the road, that a result of me selling my soul. The story I'm telling is cold, but yet it's what everyone knows. The white man's the devil is known. America was never our home. Only a place of captivity, safe facility, hating, disfigure me. They claim that I'm lazy, be killing me. Maybe the slavery draining my energy. 400 years and counting. The trail of my tears is countless. The fact that I'm here is astounding, but I can't wait till this shit is surrounded. Ready to tangle my king and the angel, be ready to rap. Crack in the sky, nuclear missiles will make it official. I'm capturing every cracker surviving. Put them all in chains where they need to be. Slavery for me. And let the whole world see that with them in the cage and safer in the streets. Put the dog on a leash, get resolved for the beast. 144, get the ruler show, we could all be at peace. As soon as the trumpets are sound, your kingdom we busting it down. The only way justice is found, the time for your judgment is now. You'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. Look, ain't no remorse in my bloodstream. It won't be no compromise. Now it's time to feed the worms. Watch his body turn to flies. I clutch iron while you trust the lies. The next Glock I buy gon' be Gen 5. I get it customized. And sending shots off like farewell. Praying payback come back around like a carousel. Still remember YAHANNA's words ringing in my head like bells. Said you in this body, you fit the Lord, fuck the cocktail. Triangle choke, apply pressure to the game like I did Vondale. Payback's a bitch in a dress, she a bombshell. Revenge is served cold, I just hope they make an oxtail. Glock fresh out the box, I swear it got that new car smell. Made myself a target in the world of mad shooters. There was design fire for our babies to pass through in the day of our king's reign. I'll be overzealous. They bought my jealous, I'm for brand new parabellums. You'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog.
Clap it up. Clap it up. Right, this is ISUPK Jamaica. Welcome to our Tuesday evening podcast, the conflict zone. Right there we look at the conflicts that oppress our people, suppress our people, and engulf our people. All right, this week now we're looking at interesting topic: stolen technologies. What was one of the main things that spawned what they call now, well, it was called so then, the Industrial Revolution. Yes, one of the main things that helped the end the Industrial Revolution. Remember, the Industrial Revolution took place under the which empire? The British Empire. And the British was before the American. So one of the things that spawned the British Empire into the Industrial Revolution, and it was basically the backbone of the Industrial Revolution, was something that was called wrought iron. Ever hear that name? Iron? Wrought iron. All right. Wrought iron was used to make like steel for building. So you could now put up steel frame structure, and you could put up, guess what? Guess one main thing for transport that wrought iron was used into. Guess. Forget it up here. Rail lines. Railway lines. But was wrought iron new when the Industrial Revolution came in? No, it wasn't. But the technology that was used to mass produce wrought iron was new. How wrought iron was made prior to that was you eat the iron and you hammer it. Bam, 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 bam. You hammer it into what you want it to be. But some black slaves in 17 something in Jamaica developed a way to mass produce wrought iron. Or should I say invent? They invented a way to mass produce wrought iron. I'm sorry, we can't find the year. And guess what happened when they invented that technology? 1780s. Well, it was patented in the 1780s, but the Jamaicans made it before that. And guess what? The empire, the British Empire, came to Jamaica, implemented martial law, just sent out the army upon the nation and shut down that estate that it was on. Take the technology, take all the equipment that was used to make it, ship it back to England, along with those who had the knowledge in making the wrought iron. All that was shipped back to England. And that estate that it was on closed down. When it went back to England, no, they didn't throw it away. It was used to make the empire greater. So guess what now? That's one more reason, or one more thing for reparation. Yes, stolen technology. The plantation was owned by a white man, yes. But when they ask him about it, he said, he don't know anything about it. He don't know if he met that. It's the slaves who knew how to do it. So that was the thing about slavery now. Slavery wasn't only about labor, you know. Slavery was also about the mind, what the slaves could also develop. All right, we're going to jump right into the articles that we have. Let me see if any of the brothers jump in. All right, before we go any further, we're inviting persons to call in this week. We have a WhatsApp number now that you can call. All right, the number says 1667 406 5650. 1667 406 5650. So you want TikTok, you want to call in and partake in the conflict zone, you can. 1667 406 5650. All right, Wrought. First thing we'll play, we have a video to play. Where's that video? No. All right, I want to expand this. Come on, man. It weren't like this, or you're giving me trouble now. Bam. All right. Big it up. Where is the full? Let me see if we can get it to show this instead. Add to stage.
Did you know that Jamaicans invented high tensile steel? To this day, it is used to develop and maintain all first world countries. Guess what group of people?
So in other words, that technology was discovered, that was invented by us blacks, is still being used today to develop basically all the countries around the world that have been developed since 1770 something or 60 something.
People stole their invention and destroyed their metal foundries so they could never develop.
Here's one for Black History Month. Did you know that the technology for creating wrought iron that led to the British Industrial Revolution was actually created by African slaves living in Jamaica? The technology was stolen from them by British businessman Henry Court. Once he found out about it, he was well connected with the English government. And once they found out about it, they declared martial law in Jamaica. They destroyed the foundry and took all of the equipment and technology back to Portsmouth, England, along with a lot of the Africans who held that essential knowledge. And this process was valuable. The British government themselves said it was more valuable than the 13 colonies because now we could create metal with high tensile strength that could be used in frame building, for buildings, also for ships, and for engine boilers. And just think, what would the world be like today if these folks had been allowed to keep their technology? And how would you ever create reparations for technology that changed every economy in the world?
Breaking.
Right. How do you create reparation for this now? Man, this is used to revolutionize every single country in the world. You're talking about shipbuilding, you're talking about frame building, all them skyscraper that they use those steel, wrought iron steel. You know, we in Jamaica here, we develop that technology, and I'm going to start the articles now. Wrought iron, Guardian. There is an article that was published by the Guardian about the Industrial Revolution. This article is more than a year old. All right, coming right here at the stage. All right, Industrial Revolution iron method was taken from Jamaica by Britain. Article is The Guardian. The Guardian is a newspaper. So their article is at theguardian.com. Wrought iron process that drove UK success was appropriated from black metallurgists, records suggest. So, all right, here now we're showing a building, a steel frame building. You're talking about things like the Eiffel Tower, right? All them things that come from our technology that was here in Jamaica, that was developed here in Jamaica. All right. All right. It is called the CORT, the CORT process, because that man had good links with the British government. He went, when he discovered the process that we were doing so in Jamaica, he went to the British government, encouraged the British government to come and close down what was happening in Jamaica and steal the technology. An innovation that propelled Britain to become the world's leading iron exporter during the Industrial Revolution was appropriated from an 18th century Jamaican foundry. Historical records suggest the CORT process, which allowed wrought iron to be mass-produced from scrap iron for the first time, has long been attributed to the British financier turned iron master Henry CORT. It helped launch Britain as an economic superpower and transform the face of the country with iron palaces, including Crystal Palace, Kew Gardens, Temperate House, and the arches at St. Pancras train station. So these wrought iron was used in basically everything. Now, an analyst of correspondence, shipping records, and contemporary newspaper reports reveal the innovation was first developed by 76 black Jamaican metallurgists at an iron works near Morant Bay, Jamaica. So the foundry was in Morant Bay side there. Many of these metal workers were enslaved people trafficked from West and Central Africa, which had thriving ironworking industries at the time. So they brought them here as iron worker, but not with the technology. They developed the technology when they came out here. Dr. Jenny Bulstrode, a lecturer in history of science and technology at the University College London, UCL, and author of the paper, said, "This innovation kicks off Britain as a major iron producer and was one of the most important innovations in the making of the modern world." Exactly. Because even though when you read the Bible, wrought iron was being made from Bible days, but it could not be produced the way it was made then, like I said, by hammering. The Smiths used to hammer them. So they make things like weapon. But to make these steel frame structure now, you need machines that could rather that would do the hammering for you, but it not like this. It's a rolling thing, this heavy thing that would roll on the iron and mass produce these long steel structures. That was made here in Jamaica, right there near Morantby. This innovation kicks off Britain as a major iron producer and was one of the most important innovations in the making of the modern world. The technique was patented by Court in the 1780s, and he is widely credited as the inventor. So he even take the credit as the inventor because the government gave him the right to patent it. Oh, imagine how it made him rich. And to make it worse, he was a financier. All right. Back to the Guardian. The technique was patented by a court in the 1980s, and he is widely credited as the inventor, with the Times lauding him as father of the iron trade. After his death, father of the iron trade after his death. Times, talking about Times Magazine. Wow, Times Magazine have been around that long. The latest research presents a different narrative, suggesting Court shipped his machinery and the fully fledged innovation to Portsmouth from a Jamaican foundry that was forcibly shut down. Came in, stole the technology with the army. So you see how long the army has been backing capitalism. The Jamaican Iron Works was owned by a white enslaver, John Reeder, who in correspondence described himself as quite ignorant of iron manufacturing, noting that the 76 black metallurgists who ran the foundry were perfect in every branch of the iron manufacturing, and through their skill could turn scrap and poor quality metal into valuable wrought iron. That is why it is called wrought iron, because you take it from a lesser grade and make it into a more superior grade. Okay, what does wrought mean? All right, the meaning of the word wrought: of metals beaten out or shaped by hammering, made or fashioned in this specific way. So it goes through heat and hammered to what you want. But the style of doing it now that spawned the Industrial Revolution, it wasn't ever a hammer. What they did, they used heavy rollers and just roll the hot iron underneath it. And the weight of those heavy rollers did the same thing like what the hammering would have done. All right. Some of these workers are named in records and include, so even the names of the workers that they stole, their names are recorded, include Devon Shear, Mingo's son, Friday, Captain Jack, Matt, George, Jimmy, Jackson, Will, Bob, Guy, Kofi, and Kwasi. Their innovation came after the workers introduced the use of grooved rollers into the foundry to mechanize the formerly laborious process of hammering out impurities from low quality iron. The same kind of grooved rollers were used in Jamaican sugar mills. It's like a mechanical alchemy, said Bulstrode. You are taking essentially rubbish and turning it into something of very high value through this process. That's exactly what the Mosai is doing with us Israelites. You know. We have been wrought, tried like gold. By 1781, the Jamaican Iron Works was turning an impressive profit of £4,000 a year, equivalent to about 7.4 million today. That's profit. Not bad. If our business now making 7.4 million pounds per annum today, that's a good business. Still a good business, eh? So back then it was making an equivalent of that. Meanwhile, Court was facing bankruptcy. So the man who get the British government to come and steal the technology, he was facing bankruptcy after taking over a client's ironworks in 1775. So this man was a financier. So obviously now the person, somebody borrowed some money from him, but he may have to take over the business. So he take over a client's ironwork in 1775 and laying out substantial sums to win a Royal Navy contract to process a scrap iron, to process its scrap iron, before realizing he stood to make a huge loss. The paper published in the journal History and Technology traces how Court learned of the Jamaican ironworks from a visiting cousin, a West Indies shipmaster who regularly transported prizes, vessels, cargo, and equipment seized through military action. Oh, so Court have a cousin who used to transport the things then when military seized from wherever in an empire. So him have that connection there already. Seized through military action from Jamaica to England. Just months later, the British government placed Jamaica under military law. and ordered the ironworks to be destroyed, claiming it could be used by rebels to convert scrap metal into weapons to overthrow colonial rule. Then I could sit down and beat the iron same and make weapons. The story here is Britain closing down through military force competition, says Bolstrode. So in other words, the story at that time was that the Britain closing down through military force a competition. The machinery was acquired. The machinery was acquired by Court and shipped to Portsmouth, where he patented the innovation. 5 years later, Court was discovered to have embezzled vast sums from Navy wages, and the patents were confiscated and made public. I'm not sure you're right. Let me check. Okay. All right, where am I? Right, right. First paragraph. Navy wages and patents were confiscated and made public, allowing widespread adoption in British ironworks. Bulstrode hopes to challenge existing narratives of innovation. If you ask people about the model of an innovator, they think of Elon Musk or some old white guy in a lab coat and said, they don't think of black people. She said, oh, that's Bulstrode. No? Bulstrode. They don't think of black people enslaved in Jamaica in the 18th century. Man, reparation just get bigger. Dr. Shirley Warmington, an honorary research associate at UCL, University College of London, I think they say, said the work was important for the reparations movement. It allows for the proper documentation of the true genesis of science and technological advancement, and provides a starting point for how to quantify and repair the impact that this loss has had on the developmental opportunities of post-colonial states, and push forward the discourse of technological transfer as a key tenet of the reparations movement. Right. Alright, so that's the end of the article. Right, so that's the key tenet of the reparations movement. So, what that is saying is that that metallurgy, that's alchemy. Yeah. So they were, in other words, it was 76 alchemists that transformed this iron for the Industrial Revolution under the British Empire. And they were from Jamaica. Well, actually, they were shipped to Jamaica as slaves, but they developed it here. They didn't come here with the machines and things. It was developed here. And the Britain government used the military to call. Today, there's a martial law, same thing that we call state of emergency. And says, close down that foundry up there in St. Thomas. Close it down. The slaves can use it and make weapons and overthrow the empire. Which way now then just take time and take out all the machinery and ship it to England and make inner court, patent the technology, get rotten rich out of it, and use it to spawn and started the Industrial Revolution. What came out of it? They build factories, they build ships, they build railways. Look how much things they build out of iron, wrought iron. Because now they were able to mass produce wrought iron. You have men sit down beating by hand. How much thing you can get accomplished for the day? With the rollers now, woo, tons of iron you could push out per day. But this is not new. This is the same thing they did. Well, not who did it? I think it's the Babylonian captivity. They did us the same thing already, or a similar thing already, while we were in Jerusalem. I mean, but that was captivity, open captivity. Well, this one is captivity too. What they did, when they invaded Jerusalem, they took all our inventors, what we call now the smiths and artisans and craftsmen, and carried them back to Babylon. Nothing new, eh? 2 Kings 24:12-16. All right, in 2 Kings, let's see. 2 Kings 24, chapter 12. Second Kings 24, chapter 12. And Joachim, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon. He, his mother, his servants, his princes, and his officers. And the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign. 13. And he carried out thence all the treasures of the house of the Lord and the treasures of the king's house, and cut in pieces all the vessels of gold and which Solomon, king of Israel, had made in the temple of the Lord, as the Lord had said. So that's verse 13. Verse 14, and he carried away all Jerusalem. Unruly kid. Unruly kid. If you can call in, 1667. Yeah, we're accepting calls. Not really co-host. All right, let me give you the number you can call. 1667 406 5650. Can I write it somewhere? I'm looking at it. So it's 1667 406 56 5650. Ring me up, man, and then we'll take it from there. Right. He carried away all Jerusalem, all the princes, and all the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen. So even from them time, this is what all these nations have been doing us. The craftsmen and smiths, none remain, save the poorest sort of the people of the land. So when you hear them telling you about we were taken out of bush in Africa, no go so. Nobody don't hunt down bushman to come be slaves to build no empire. From Bible days, the poorest of the people, they left them in the land. Verse 15. And he carried away Joachim to Babylon, and the king's mother, and the king's wives, and his officers, and the mighty of the land. Those carried he into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon. That's 15. I also asked that 16. Right. Second Kings 24 verse 16. And all the men of might, even 7,000, and craftsmen and smiths 1,000, all that were strong and apt for war, even them the king of Babylon brought captive to Babylon. So the smiths now would be the same man them like where England take with the metallurgists or the alchemists. They were metal alchemists. Bring them back to England. And I'm sure they were brought back to England on wages. Even though England never recognized chattel slavery within England, they went back there as slaves. God bless what them get. I can bet you that. You see, their names have to be, they didn't even have full names. Friday. All you know the man named Friday. And yet him a big alchemist. What he named Friday. I have one name. I can't remember that one name. You have one named Mingo. And then his son, they just call his son Mingo son. And you want to tell me those are free men. Those aren't free men. So you reparations on these metal to these Israelite people now for their contribution to your industry, because sorry, to your empire, because that industrial revolution spun England into the 19th century, like 18 something, so much so that they could, say, all right, we can free the slaves. Industrial revolution, why they could think of doing that. All right, we're going to read some more articles before we close. Next article is, that was the Guardian. I want to read one now from UCL News, right? University College of London. So this one now, well, I think this is the best, so we'll save the best for last. we're going to look at what the college, the university think of the whole thing. I need to adjust this a little better. Does this make sense? I'm not able to shift it. All right, so this one now. Black metal workers in Jamaica pioneered key industrial revolution innovation. And this article was published in 2023. So, what do you think happened? It was there, but his research, them people at the University College of London went and do some research, and it came out. That's what came out. All right, let me make sure that's the right name I'm calling. If it is University College of London, UCL, it was mentioned in the first article that I read. This process that was called the court process. And to show you that it was not widespread, that was why he was given the patent. Yeah, man, University College London. Science and Technology at University College London. So the UCL that's what it means. And this website is University College London, UCL.ac.uk. So this is not a .com site. So this comes from the university. And it says black metal workers. All right, make sure this is being shown on YouTube. Yeah. Black metal workers in Jamaica pioneered key industrial revolution innovation. Published July 2023. Now imagine if it was slavery then still, you know. But Jamaica could have been one of the developmental hub. We would have better jobs today. A key innovation of the Industrial Revolution, credited to Englishman Henry Cort, was in fact pioneered in Jamaica by black metallurgists, the majority of whom were enslaved. So, and all of them were enslaved. It says the majority of them were enslaved. According to a new study by UCL's Dr. Jenny Bulstrode, UCL Science and Technology Studies. I remember I used to hear the story about some place in Jamaica where they're shut down already and take away the people and things. But I've never gotten the full story. Now I do. So it was a foundry. It was a steel foundry. Okay. I would like to see where in. Trust me, I would travel to Monday and to see where it was, you know. Because the places, you're not going to see anything, but if I look at the place and say, this is where it was. Yeah. UCL Science and Technology Study. All right. The innovation, widely known as the Cort process, after the English financier turned iron master, who took credit for it, enabled scrap and poor quality iron to be converted into wrought iron on an industrial scale. That's the thing. Wrought iron was always being made, but it was never being made on an industrial level. And that's what made the difference. So the technology to make it in the industrial scale, meaning mass produce it, so that you can put up a steel frame building in record time, build steam engines, build anything we use wrought iron. That was genius. And that was what spawned the Industrial Revolution, and that was what made England became Great Britain. Wasn't it? So it wasn't just for sugar and coffee and cocoa and them things that they used to plant here. We had 76 black men who spawned their Industrial Revolution with wrought iron. Profits from the innovation helped transform Britain into a global economic power, enabling British industries to manufacture and export everything from iron railways. See, they made railways, the rail tracks, iron railways, iron ships, iron engines, to iron suspension bridges, and iron factories. So it spanned everything. In other words, England just take off with that thing. The method and its derivatives were even used to build iron palaces. Famous structures such as Crystal Palace, Kew Gardens, and the archways at St. Pancras International Station. The innovation was patented by a court between 1783 and 1784, but in a new paper in the journal History and Technology, Dr. Bulstrode shows how it was in use in a major iron works in Jamaica run by black metallurgists several years before court patent. Many of these metal workers were enslaved people trafficked from West Africa and West Central Africa, home to some of the most important ironworking civilization in world history. The owner of the, and I'm sure they didn't come out, they didn't ship them out here from Africa with those machines. They came out here and they built those machines, rock them brain, and developed those machines. The owner of the Jamaican Ironworks, a white enslaver called John Reeder, described himself as quite ignorant of such a business. But how the black metallurgists in his foundry were perfect in every branch of the iron manufacturing, and through their skill could turn scrap and poor quality metal into valuable wrought iron. Dr. Jenny Bulstrode, UCL Science and Technology Studies, the author of the research, said the myth of Henry Court needs to be revised. The so-called court process, one of the most important innovations in the making of the modern world, was developed by highly skilled black metallurgists, most of whom were enslaved for their own purposes. Recognition of the debt the British Industrial Revolution owes to black innovation is long overdue. Damn. All right, I'm sure you have a big metal building here made from wrought iron. The innovation combines two techniques, I should say: bundling scrap iron and heating it in a furnace that kept the metal separate from the heat source, and using grooved rollers usually only found in sugar mills. Instead of the smooth rollers conventionally used in European iron production. So them put grooves in our rollers then, and that help remove the impurities. Bundled, bundled, heated, and squeezed through the rollers in this way, the iron underwent a kind of mechanical alchemy that transformed it from worthless scrap into valuable metal. By 1781, the Jamaican Iron Works was making profit of £4,000 a year, equivalent to a relative annual income of 7.4 million in 2020. In 2020 sterling. And I think, see, I'm not about 20, no, I don't know, from 2020, 5 years ago. While the Jamaican Ironworks turned spectacular annual profits, Henry Court was facing bankruptcy. A financier from the age of 60, Court took over the Portsmouth Ironwork of one of his clients in 1775 and laid out substantial sums to secure a contract to supply the Royal Navy's ironwork. He had hoped to make an easy profit, but soon found that he had contracted to trade the Navy's old scrap iron for new, with no way of working up the old rusted metal without making a loss. Using shipping records and old newspapers, Dr. Bulstrode's research traces how Enrico learned of the Jamaican ironworks from a visiting cousin, a West Indies ship's master who regularly transported prizes, vessels, cargo, and equipment seized through military action from Jamaica to England. So it was a regular thing for them to come and seize things and carry it back to England. Okay. In 1782, just a few months after Court learned of the lucrative Jamaican foundry, the British government placed Jamaica under military law and ordered the iron works to be destroyed. The reason given in public was to prevent a falling into the hands of a rival power like France, Spain, and Holland in private. The military governor expressed the concern that if black Jamaicans could convert scrap metal into cannon, then they could overthrow British colonial rule. The foundry was razed, as in burned, to the ground, and the machinery and equipment from the works placed into ships and transported to Portsmouth, Portsmouth, England, where Henry Court patented the innovation. The response in Britain was immediate. Politician John Baker Oldroyd declared, "Our knowledge of the iron trade seems either to have been in its infancy and in direct reference to the loss of the American War, the newly founded United States of America described the so-called court process as being more advantageous to Britain than 13 colonies." In other words, they prized those men's work. They said this is more valuable to England than 13 colonies. 5 years later, court was discovered to have embezzled 39,676 pounds of Navy wages. In response, the British government confiscated the patents and made them public, enabling the widespread uptake of the innovation among British iron works. So we take a patent from Henry Court and make everybody have it to use. Jamaican expert in development and reparation, Dr. Sheree Warmington, honorary UCL Science and Technology Studies, said the findings were important for the present reparations movement. This isn't just about sugar, tobacco, and cotton. It's about black intellect and innovation, which was robbed from the colonies and used to build the wealth of the global north of today. Again and again, we see histories of the Industrial Revolution present black people as machines. This story shows black intellect was the driver of innovation and prosperity. Black intellect that was stolen, its time, that theft, and the countless other innovations that were stolen from colonized countries are recognized by their former colonizers as a key tenet, tenant of the reparations movement. Hmm. I know they can't pay. I don't know, all they won't pay for it. Let us hand over the colony. All right, let me jump to 1 Samuel now, 13 and 19. In the time of 1 Samuel, 1 Samuel was when we were under switching from the judges to Saul. Which one is this? Ezekiel. Samuel, yeah. Second Kings now. 1 Samuel. First Samuel what? 1 Samuel 13, I said, and 19. Alright, in the book of 1 Samuel 13 plus 19, it states, now there was no smiths found throughout all the land of Israel, for the Philistines said, lest the Hebrews make them swords or spears. You see, it's the same thing all over again. Read what they said in the thing there. The reason that was given here. Let me see if I can find it. The reason that was given by the empire. So here it is. Show this instead. In 1782, just a few months after Court learned of the lucrative Jamaican foundry, the British government placed Jamaica under military law and ordered the ironworks to be destroyed. The reason given in public was to prevent it falling into the hands of rival power like France, Spain, Holland. In private, the military governor expressed the concern that if black Jamaicans could convert scrap metal into cannon, then they could overthrow the British colonial rule. So they give a reason that, oh, this could make weapons. But really and truly, they want to use it to build their colony. Sorry, to build their country. All right. So in 1 Samuel, what them say? First Samuel 13 and 19. From the time of way back, the judges. Now there was no smith found throughout all the land of Israel. For the Philistines said, lest the Hebrews make them swords or spears. So even from the days of sword and spear, they come up with them the excuse. No, we can't leave these smiths in the land. We have to take them into our land. When really and truly what they were doing is developing their country. Yeah. All right, another scripture. Right, so they come and tell you now, no, we cannot leave this in the hands out here, because if it fall in the hand of if it fall in the hand of America, they would have been the country to spear the Industrial Revolution, and they didn't want that. What England wanted was for them to be the one to be able to build these ships and so on, because if you remember, England became powerful because they just turn out ships. And then when they discover wrought iron, rather than making wooden ship, they start to make iron ship with iron base. It still have wood, but it's iron base because of the innovation or these alchemists who made wrought iron. Man. And they gave the same excuse like was given from Bible days, from the judges. But, they could use it to make weapons. So we have to take them out the land. All right, Zechariah 13, is it 13? Zechariah 13, 7 to 9. Zechariah 13, verse 7, 8, and 9. It says, awake, O sword, against my shepherd. Because this is what is happening in Jamaica and the West, where the blacks, Hispanics, and Native are. Those who are over us, most of them is the problem. Hey, look at Jamaica. They have $1 trillion budget. What the heck is in that for the people? I gave my little daughter some $1 the other day. Tell him saying can buy something with it. We have some wool for $1. I said, you can't take them and use them. She said, nobody don't want them. She said, none of the places we should go for buy it. We should go for buy it. Whether sweetie, sharpener, little things that kids would want. He said none of the place don't want to take them. You know, and that was what? Much weeks now. Couple weeks now, you know. Knock my head. You in a country where $1, little picket don't even want it. You know, when I was a kid, you know, you find a 10 cent, you know, not even a $1. You know. You could have get 2 or 3 sweetie with that. No, they tell you could have not get them $5 $1. The shops then don't want it. That is telling me what is happening out here when it comes to the monetary degradation that we're going through out here. And who is causing it? Our money being pegged by a money that is failing. Our money is being pegged to a failing empire's money. I mean, boy, it got me rethinking. All right, back to Zechariah now. Verse 7. Oh, against my shepherd and against the man that is my fellow, saith the Lord of hosts. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered. So the Most High will take away our leaders. In the last days, we'll take them away. Because you don't have any leaders. But he's doing it for a purpose. And I will turn mine hand upon the little ones. And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. But the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third through the fire. Just like how these men made the wrought iron. They take the lesser grade iron, start rotting and thing, and can throw them in the furnace. Squeeze them through the groove thing there, take out the impurities, and then make wrought iron that could use to spin the Industrial Revolution. And many of those iron are standing until today. Look at rail lines. Rail line, them couple of them can right now. Right? So he said, but the third shall be left therein, and I will bring the third through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. And this is why I say I'm not looking at nothing of reparation. We hear the truth, we call on the Most High. Is God have to save you. All right? The oppressor gearing up right now to put you back in slavery. And I will hear them. I will say, it is my people. And they shall say, the Lord is my God. Yahweh is my God. All right? So that is the way out of this captivity. I mean, we read about all these things and then thief this from, we then thief that from, because they have the power. I mean, what could those men do? Many of them were already slaves, and moreover, they marched the army and the whole, they imposed martial law on the whole country, march out the army, but specifically they were going after that foundry in St. Thomas. And like I said, I've heard these stories, but I've never got the full thing. I've heard it before. But this person now come and do a research and publish a paper, right? From the University College of London. So that now, you know, those who talking about the reparation, that's one other thing. Imagine if Jamaica had become that hub. All the other Caribbean islands within the Caribbean, yes or no? I mean, they already look towards Jamaica, and many of them come here. I mean, many Jamaicans go to their place, but many of them come here. We have a whole lot of people from Trinidad working in Jamaica, especially when it comes to eye care. They seem to have cornered that market. You go anywhere in Jamaica to test your high. Is that Trinidad there you see? Right? So it's not new. We don't have anything against them. We don't know if them have, we hope they don't have anything against us. But I'm saying, you know, it would have, well, we wouldn't need fair run to America. And I'm sure Jamaica, we wouldn't turn them away. We always like to see our Caribbean brothers and sisters. But the oppressor is the one, you know, he's the devil the Bible speaks of, right? The deceiver and the liar. This is what it is, but the Henry Court process. Henry Court, which process? It was a Jamaican process. 76 Jamaican alchemists who did this. All right, so time is up on us. 10:17. We've gone way over the time. So, you know, that is it on the conflict zone. And I'm sure this is a big conflict right here now, you know. Why? Yeah. Because we're going to be talking about this, for one, here in the ISUPK. Plus, I know that see them start talking about reparations. So that is going to add to the already large reparation bill, right? Anyways, like I said, you know, shalom. Until next week, we say, I am out. Shalom. Yahweh Shem Yahshua Barakatah to the brothers. Yahweh Shema Ayinatan Basham Yahshua to the sisters. That's ancient Hebrew. All right? Take care.